It's time for the Inside Pitch, the official off-season radio show of your Winnipeg Goldeyes. On the home of the Goldeyes, 93.7 CJNU.
Good evening and welcome back to the Inside Pitch here on CJNU 93.7 FM. And if you're joining us a little bit later on YouTube, welcome into the Goldeyes Visitors Clubhouse. Things are still starting to get busy here inside of the ballpark. Some guys are starting to arrive already for training camp that starts in just a couple of days on Sunday the 3rd. We've got a lot to talk about here on the Inside Pitch. Logan Watkins will join us in just a moment. Brian Finlayson as well, as we close up our 2026 offseason radio show with a look into our roster and, of course, get you ready to go for all the summer fun here inside of Blue Cross Park. But before we get into the interviews and we get into the roster dive-in, we have a couple of house cleaning tips here on the program. Let's start off with everything on shopgoldeyes.com. If you're looking at the Feed the Fish hoodie, that is currently in stock and in the team store right now, as long as everything else that is on the Goldeyes website: hats, hoodies, t-shirts, jackets, and more. You can find those all at goldeyes.com. Second thing, over 5,000 tickets have already been sold for our home opener on May 19th. That also means that all of our jerseys that we have in stock will be given away. There's not going to be a whole lot of wiggle room, so make sure you get to the ballpark early. Gates open at 5 o'clock for our 6:30 start time against the Kane County Cougars. Get there early, get in line, get your jerseys, and you will look stylish like everyone else. Oh, if you missed the home opener, don't worry. The next day on the 20th, we have another giveaway to send out. 3,500 magnet schedules will be handed off to the fans inside of Blue Cross Park for the second home game of the 2026 season. That game will as well start at 6:30. Before the players take the field, come meet the team at TransCanada Brewing on Sunday, May 3rd. That's at 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. Fans of all ages are invited to the tap room out at TransCanada. There'll be pizza, there'll be beer, there'll be plenty of fun activities, along with meeting the guys who will be taking the field for the Fish here in 2026. Not only that, once Meet the Goldeyes event ends, the Fish head off on the road to kick off their first couple of games of the preseason. That'll be May 4th and 5th at Fargo-Moorhead, and then the Goldeyes are back on the road from May the 10th to May the 13th before kicking off the season. All those games will be on CJNU 93.7 FM. We will not be televising any of those preseason games, so hop over to the radio and catch all of the action as we get ready to go for first pitch of 2026. And with that being said, let's get into the Inside Pitch. Here's Logan Watkins and I talking through the roster. Stay tuned. Brian Finlayson coming up next here to close up the last Inside Pitch of the 2026 season. Welcome back to the Inside Pitch. Logan Watkins here. Last couple of days before players start coming in to report. We're recording this on Monday. This will air obviously on Wednesday. And Logan, you're getting in, I believe, Friday, Saturday night?
I believe I'm getting in Saturday. I'm getting in on physical day. And
Right.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. It's I know talking with a lot of the guys who are either getting there in the next couple days or maybe closer to May 1st or so. I know everyone else is really excited, and hopefully the weather cooperates for us so we can get outside once we get there.
Yeah, it's sunny right now. It's not warm yet. We're getting there. Grass is finally starting to take in some sunshine. So the playing surface is certainly not going to be ready by the time you guys get in, at least to play games on. But by the time May 19th rolls around for the home opener, we'll definitely be ready to go. So we've got 26 men on the roster, and that's what we're going to roll with going into spring camp. And then, of course, going into the practice games against Fargo, Chicago, Kane County, Lake Country, etc. Is this going to be a little interesting going into these first two games against Fargo, having just maybe a practice and a half under your guys' belt, and then going to play somewhat of a, I don't even know how to describe it. I know it's spring games, but like this really kind of just feels like a modified tune-up just to get people out on a baseball diamond again.
Yeah, I mean it'll be a version of a baseball game. I mean it'll be pretty much, Chris Coast, the manager in Fargo, and I will get on the same page, and we're not going to let any pitchers, probably throw more than 25 pitches in an inning. We'll roll it regardless of how many outs there are if it gets to that point. And biggest thing is especially based on last season, we got to keep everyone healthy through spring. Some of these teams in the league can come into the spring training with about 30 some guys. There's more of a local market for maybe the Chicago area teams. It's not a big deal to bring in 30 some guys that drive their way there, and they can their coaching staff can take a peek at them. But with us, there's not as much of a local pool to choose from here in Winnipeg. So everyone that's coming to spring training, we're flying in and we're bringing them here with the expectation that they're going to make the team for opening day. And so that puts a little bit of extra pressure on us to keep everyone healthy. So like I said, or like you said, we're coming in with 26, and after the first 10 days of the season, we have to have it down to 25. But for the first 10 days of the year, everyone that's showing up, like I said, is going to make the team, and we'll get a good look at everybody.
Yeah, we're gonna get a pretty good look at your entire pitching staff that's coming in. Almost the same rotation as the last season. Landon Barassa being the ace of the staff, followed by Mitchell Lamson, Noah Milliken, James Bradwell, Luke Boyd. We'll talk obviously about James Bradwell later on when it comes to how healthy he is entering into the season. But then the bullpen is a whole lot of names, a lot of left-handers, and we'll go into that a bit as well. Just kind of a full little one last roster look at before we go into the season. We'll start with the new signings though. Robbie Enriquez coming back to the Goldeyes for the 2025 after the 25 campaign, now 26 for his third year. And then Rafael Pelletier will join as well, catcher from Montreal. So let's start with Pelletier because he was the first one of the two. What do you see from the young rookie catcher who's coming in from Quebec?
Really good catch and throw catcher. Saw a video of him at Kansas State where he was their main catcher for a couple of years before he transferred to Kentucky. It looks like he's got a really good arm, throw guys out. I think the bat in college was a little bit inconsistent, but again, this is kind of the world we live in with independent baseball. It's very difficult to find a really good defensive catcher that also hits. Those guys typically have affiliated jobs. So I think there's if you look at his numbers at Kansas State his last year though, he did have like 40 walks. I think he had like 9 homers. So there's some pop and there's some plate discipline there. Um, and he's got a lot of room to grow. But I think when we look at last year, I mean the biggest evidence we have of telling us what we needed to improve on from last year is just go back and look at the teams that were successful and why they beat us. And when you have teams like Sioux City who are setting the league record for stolen bases, we got to have a catcher back there that puts some fear in them as far as taking off and just getting to second and third within a couple of pitches. Obviously, our pitchers got to do a good job holding runners, but having a catcher back there that can throw somebody out, that can change the whole momentum of an inning. And I think that it was at the time when we signed him, he was going to be our third catcher. Mason Doby was going to be one of our other catchers as well. And unfortunately, Mason's not going to be able to join us this year. Just got offered a job he couldn't refuse, and um, wish him nothing but the best in his future. But that means Rafael's got a chance to step in here and compete with Kevin, and two catchers on a roster. A lot of times, it's going to come down to who's giving us the best chance to win, and I think it's a good setup as far as having a good veteran catcher like Kevin, and then having a really young catcher like Rafael, and hopefully they work well together, and we trust whoever we put back there.
When you're talking about controlling the running game, is it much more than just being able to throw runners out? Is it being able to work with a pitching staff and determine how many times you can either move over or look over at first?
I'd say it's probably like 60, 40, 70, 30 on the pitching staff to control the running game. And having a catcher back there that can throw you out, most of the time teams will see that, know that, and that'll take some of the aggressiveness out of, the their mentality running the bases. But typically, like for our guys, if we're going to be stealing bases, it's most of the time it's because the pitcher is fairly slow to home or kind of predictable with his looks and stuff like that. And you can have the best arm in the world if the pitcher doesn't know how to control a running game, you can't throw anybody out. So um, yeah, it's kind of a team effort between the pitcher and the catcher as far as controlling the running game.
And then re-signing Robbie Enriquez. I know he was a priority who you were looking to get earlier in the offseason, but you just didn't know exactly what the whole situation like was with Matthew Workington, or if you were gonna uh, lose him out on a possibility to Mexico if that was gonna fall through, and it eventually did. So, what has Robbie Enriquez re-signing brings to the infield and the outfield because of his ability to do both?
Um, First of all, Robbie's played a lot of baseball in his career, and he's played it at a high level. Really fairly consistent numbers as far as bat to ball and his hitting for average. The strange thing is that if you watch him take batting practice, you would say this guy's probably going to hit 10 to 15 homers a season. But in the game, he's got kind of more of your Dason Cruz kind of mentality of line drive going the other way, which is why he always hits for average and doesn't strike out a ton. I've talked with him this offseason. We've talked in the past as well as not being afraid to turn on a baseball and using the right side of the field because he's got power to that side for sure. And it'll be good this year. He's not playing in that Puerto Rican league that him and Edwin Arroyo always play in. So we're gonna have Robbie from day one, which is good because the last few years he's come about mid-season and it's taken him a little bit of time to get going. Which now he's gonna show up day one, kind of be at the same place at the same starting line as everybody else. Um, but yeah, he had a chance to go and make a team in Mexico, and that didn't work out. And then when we lose Mason Doby, that kind of opened up a roster spot where I felt comfortable that bringing Robbie in, and it's not an ideal situation to lose someone like Mason Doby, who I thought was going to be a good rookie addition for us, and who knows what his pro career could have ended up turning into. But when you add a proven guy like Robbie and another kind of veteran presence in the clubhouse, it's quite possible that we may have upgraded.
Let's talk about the lineup card because we'll get into what the pitching staff looks like eventually when you get to actually see them pitch. You and Brewer get a chance to determine where they fit in the bullpen, etc. So let's start off with the infield. You kind of have another edition of plug and play. It seems like there's so many different options you can go to. It's not just the infield; it's also guys who could also play the outfield, like Adam Hall. We've seen Ditter play the outfield. Robbie can play the corners as well. So what is your position players look like coming into their first couple of games down in Fargo?
Yeah, I mean, if you're just going around the diamond, catcher wise, like we talked about, you're gonna have Kevin and you're gonna have Raphael back there, splitting time. First base, probably TJ Schofield Sam. We'll probably see him there opening day. I think that's the position he's played the most in affiliated ball. And he's got some versatility, can play second and third as well. And I think he's even played a little bit of outfield, but we'll probably see him mostly at first. And then, like you mentioned, Robbie Enriquez is a pretty dang good first baseman as well. So we'll probably see him over there a little bit. Second base, you're looking at Keyshawn, you're looking at Ray Patrick Ditter, you're looking at Bermasco, you're looking at Adam Hall, all guys that have a ton of experience playing second base. Shortstop, Ray Patrick Ditter, Ramon Bermasco, Adam Hall, all three have played short. All three can do at a high level. Third base, Ramon Bermasco's defensively been one of the best in the league for the last two seasons. So um, he's mentioned last year he'd like to get a little bit more range in his arsenal this year and probably play a little bit more shortstop. And I'm happy to do that because his glove will play anywhere. But yeah, we'll probably see him at third. Ray Patrick Ditter's another one that can play third. Keyshawn has played a lot of third. Got a lot of options there. Left field, you're looking at Adam Hall, Robbie Enriquez, Trump. I think those three guys probably make up the majority of your center field. Keyshawn as well. Center field, Noah Marcelo. I mean, that's his job right now. That's we brought him here to be our center fielder and be our either leadoff or probably 9-hole hitter, one of those two. But that's his job right now, and he's got every opportunity to go out there and make that his job for the whole season, or at least as long as we have him. Who knows? Maybe he gets picked up or whatever. But um, Adam Hall can obviously play out there, feel good about it. Then you could put, I mean, Robbie Enriquez, Max Murphy, Keyshawn can all go out there and do a serviceable job as well if needed. So, and then Max Murphy and right, Robbie Enriquez and right, and that's kind of at least how I've got it visioned in my head right now. Obviously, things are subject to change, but and then batting order, who knows? Like I said, that's going to kind of be determined by the way they perform, especially in spring training. So, but as far as your defensive setup with what we've got, that's probably what we're looking at.
So my biggest question then on that turns into what does your DH position look like then? Is it going to someone who either needs a half a day off, or is it going to go to someone who consistently is putting bat on the ball?
DH, I mean, you're gonna probably, at least the way I've always kind of done it. Who needs a day off? Who needs a little bit of a break playing the field? We're only going to have 11 position players going into the season, so getting guys days off isn't always going to be easy. At the same time, these guys may be tired, but I think they would prefer it that we have it set up where they get a ton of playing time and not just sit in the bench for 2 3 days at a time. So all these guys are going to be getting in there a lot. But yeah, we'll use the DH to give some guys, a little bit of a break. I mean, Trump is a Trump is a guy in his low 30s. Max Murphy's in his low 30s. Those guys obviously could use some days where we get them off their feet a little bit, but still let them swing the bat. And then Adam Hall, he's going to play the game with a lot of speed and energy, which can take a toll on your body, especially him who's got a little bit of an injury history. Want to be smart with him, so sometimes maybe we'll get him a DH. But yeah, that's just kind of the way I look at it.
Yeah, it's interesting how your lineup card can look on any given day. I mean, you're someone who doesn't seem to consistently utilize the same lineup card over and over. You guys really do like to plug and play kind of anywhere. So that's the other question is, will there be games where you will see back to back of the same lineup card, or is that just going to be something that will be almost always ever changing, especially through the first little bit of the season?
It'll probably be always changed a little bit day to day, mostly just because I don't like having guys sit. I didn't sign anyone here to be a bench player. Um, And so, there's going to be two guys that are in the lineup on opening day. I would imagine both those guys probably jump in there game two. Who they are and who they replace, I don't know yet. But I've been a guy, at least in my playing career, someone that's played every day, and I've been a guy that's played off the bench. I know how hard it is to sit for 2 3 4 days and then try and jump in there and do something, and that's not always very realistic. And um, so, like for instance, like last year, I think Keyshawn probably wasn't in the lineup opening day, but Keyshawn played a lot, and I don't think there was many times Keyshawn sat 2 times in a row, and because Keyshawn needs to be in there, and he's going to be at his best when he's at least not, if he's not in there every day, he's in there almost every other day or whatever. So, um, and then we'll see how the guys hit. Even guys that struggle or are struggling a little bit, yeah, you get those guys maybe out of the lineup a little bit more often, but I don't want them to sit over there on the bench too and be in a depressed state because they haven't hit the ball. I want them to get another opportunity to get in there and do it. Because, like I said, we didn't bring anybody in here to sit the bench, and I think all these guys are able to contribute for us this year. So, um, yeah, it'll be pretty much different every day. And like I said, I use that changes in the lineup to give some guys some days off, and yeah, like maybe someone's struggling a little bit, just needs a quick mental breather, whatever it is. But um, yeah, nobody's here to sit the bench, so there'll be some movement for sure.
Out of the newcomers, who are you circling to be the biggest lift to the lineup card?
I mean, do we count Adam Hall a newcomer?
I would consider it just 6 games in. He was here for a cup of coffee, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean he's got the ability to be one of the top 10 players in the league. I think Schofield Sam has proven since he's been an affiliated ball that he's always going to hit. I think he'll be a consistent bat for us. Those two guys would be great. Trump is going to be a veteran bat in the lineup. He's not going to face any pitching he hasn't seen before, so he'll be a really good addition for us. And then the absolute wild card is Noah Marcelo, who could, like I said, he could be our 1 hole, he could be our 9 hole. Either way, we got to get him on base because he's gonna get around the bases, stealing bases. He's gonna be scoring on singles. Like we got to get him on base. So, um, like I said, those guys that come over from the Pioneer League, they're on the younger side, a little less experience, so there's a little less of an idea of what you're going to get. But you talk to enough people about Noah that have seen him play or played with him. There's not many people have said there's very many chinks in the armor. I think he's gonna be obviously there's gonna be a transition period, but I think he's gonna be one of our best players, assuming he jumps over and can handle the pitching that he's gonna face.
How about on the pitching side? Who are you most excited to see take the mound that you haven't seen in person yet?
Let me look at my list. Who we got? I mean, a huge question mark that could tip our starting rotation one way or the other is Noah Milliken. Another guy coming from the Pioneer League, but pitched extremely well last year. But again, younger side, less of a resume, so it's a little bit of an unknown. But if he ends up being what we hope he can be, our pitching staff, if we're B minus now, him being really good for us could take us to an A minus. You know what I mean? That's kind of how big his performance will be for us this year, because I think it's safe to say we know we're going to get a good Landon Barasa, assuming everyone stays healthy. We're going to get a good Landon Barasa. We know we're going to get from Mitch Lamson. We have chances to win every time those two guys pitch. I think Luke Boyd showed last year that he can be a guy that wins us. We hit the ball when he's throwing well. He's got a chance to win 8, 9, 10 games for us. And then yeah, Noah. Noah's that one I'm really looking to see how he's going to do for us. And then there's so many guys in the bullpen. I know we've got a ton of guys with good arms and are coming off good years. I don't think we have anybody really coming in off a year where they struggled. Everyone's kind of trending in the right direction as far as statistics and how their career's going. So I think have we figured out how to say, is it Kevin Vapel? Is that how we're saying his last name?
I thought it was because I have the pronunciation guide here, and it's Vapol.
Vopel. Well, Kevin, as I call him when I talk to him, he's someone I've really liked watching video of, and I thought his numbers last year, in the Marlins organization, I think he only had 1, maybe 2 years of affiliated time, and his numbers last year don't show a guy that should have been released.
Mhm.
And so I think we're getting a really good guy. He's at like the perfect stage of his career to come to this league and be one of the better relievers in the league. He's still young. He's still got a ton of baseball ahead of him. I'm sure he's still very motivated, and he's one of those guys that's at the age where he can still get picked up if he comes and shows up and throws like he knows he's capable of. So he's got a chance to be one of our better arms out of the pen. And then I actually really think Rio Kohigashi that we got from Ottawa. Um, I think everyone I've talked to that has seen him pitch has said a lot of really good things about him, and the video shows that he's got good stuff. So, um, yeah, those two, but I'm excited about all of them. To be honest, the bullpen's pretty much completely redone, with the exception of who we got back, Strobel and Cherry, and
Yeah,
uh,
it really is Tasker and Cherry because and I guess Lombard shows up as well after a brief stint
right.
last year, but it really is pretty much a whole new whiteboard of bullpen arms that you got.
Yeah, and
So like
that's
the question
exciting.
is like
I'm
how will you end
that's
up
that's kind of like
managing
the
yeah,
fun part of this
how
job. It's and the most exciting part of spring training because um, not that I in the off season I do view this as work. Like I got to get up, go to work every day, see who we can find, see who we have a chance at. Not only that, develop relationships with them. You don't just call someone and say, "Hey, you want to sign with Winnipeg?" and they say yes. on that day. There's work that goes into signing these guys, and so when you finally get to see them in person, when you already kind of have it in your head what it's going to look like, this is exciting to finally see them in person. So a whole new bullpen. A little bit nerve wracking because you don't know what you're going to get, but we kind of stacked it to where, I mean, how many's out there? 9, 10. We got 10 arms to choose from, so it's exciting right now to kind of see how it's going to work itself out.
Well, the fact that 7 of those arms are left-handed, 3 of them are right-handed, we now have the right-handed situational reliever. Not only that, though, you kind of look at the starting pitching side, which is heavily right-handed. Does that allow you to then just go right into, say, let's say if Kansas City's coming to town, they're going to load up their starting lineup with left-handed arm or left-handed bats to face the right-handed arm. Does that give you the option to just go straight out left-handers then the rest of the way to force Cal Pietra or any other manager to go to their bench?
Yeah, I mean that's obviously a plus with it, but I mean, again, it's one of those things too where I have a bunch of lefties that I know can get right-handed hitters out. Tasker Strobel's best pitch is his changeup, and that works better against righties. Um, Ko Higashi's one of his best pitches, at least that I've seen on film, is a splitter, and that works very well against lefties and righties. And I think Weston Lombard is going to be more your long relief kind of guy. Not going to be a matchup guy. Basically, we're not bringing him in to face lefties very often. Um, Kevin Voppel, as we've figured out, that's how that's pronounced. Could he be a guy that's more left on left? That's his strength. We'll see. Quinn Waterhouse has got a really good power arm for a lefty. I know he does have a pretty good slider. He might be more left on left matchups we use him for, but for the most part, a lot of these guys, I feel confident that they can get righties out as well. Um, but again, this stuff plays itself out, so we'll see.
And then we'll wrap this up here talking about the clubhouse because you have a lot of veterans on this team, probably one of the more veteran heavy rosters that you've brought out since your time with the Goldeyes. So Murph, Trump, Enriquez, not classified as a veteran, but he's played enough pro ball to be considered one. Kevin Garcia, Lana Barraza, Mitch Lamson, even Luke Boyd could also be on that list too. Keyshawn Lynch has been a lot of places. Adam Hall. I mean, it goes through the yeah, Ditter, Robbie, and Ramon. It goes through the list of how many guys you have with plenty of experience. So, what do you look to those guys when it comes to leading that clubhouse?
I mean, every good team I've ever been on, even the team 2 years ago we had that went as far as we did. I mean, a lot of this is player driven, especially in the clubhouse. Just kind of setting the expectation, whether it's spoken or unspoken, just kind of how we go about our business, how we work, what time we all need to be at the park. Like that's all player led. Like someone cutting corners, someone not being a good teammate, whatever it is. A lot of times our coaches, we don't see it. We've got enough going on. We're not out here policing our players. We take that upon our older guys to kind of take care of some of that minor stuff, and then obviously if there's bigger issues that need the coaching staff's attention, we'll address it. But yeah, just as far as Max Murphy showing up, Kevin Garcia showing up, Mitch Lamson, Barasa, these guys that have been with this team for long enough, when they show up and their actions and their words, they're portraying that, hey, we're here to win a championship. This means a lot to us. It means a lot to a lot of people we care about. A lot of times that kind of mentality and that kind of example will they'll bring a lot of guys along with them. So that's important that we have that this year. I'm not saying the guys that are going to be first year players for us don't care just as much, but there is kind of a history here and an expectation and the bar's kind of set high in Winnipeg. And I think that when you have leaders in the clubhouse, that the rest of the guys will take note of that pretty quick and kind of fall in line.
Yeah, thanks Logan for stopping on by. We're getting close. I mean, you're coming in just a couple of days, and then we're in Fargo to open up spring training. Those games will be all on CJNU as well as the ones that lead up to opening day on the 15th down in Milwaukee. Logan, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you in person at the end of the week.
Thanks, Trevor. We'll see you soon.
And we're back here on the Inside Pitch. Brian Finlayson making his first appearance here on the program. Brian, last episode of the season, so this means we got a whole lot of stuff to get through here, and unfortunately not a lot of time for either of us. But otherwise, well, welcome back to another season of Goldeyes baseball.
Yeah, I'm excited. At the time of filming this, we are exactly 3 weeks till the home opener. I cannot wait to see everyone coming into Blue Cross Park this year, both players and fans alike.
We've already got some players showing up in the clubhouse. James Bradwell has been out throwing the last couple of weeks. Noah Marcello is eventually coming in. We already got Noah Milliken, who just got into the clubhouse. James Collier is going to be following suit. Yeah, it's a really busy time for us this year. A lot of guys coming in right before Media Day kicks off. And then, of course, spring camp opens up on Sunday, May 3rd. But really, this is kind of an unorthodox start to our season, starting off the first 2 games down in Fargo, coming back here for training week. So these guys are barely even going to know each other's names, and they're already playing a couple of games.
It's a really good way to familiarize yourself with everyone around. So, you're just going to get right out there and do what you love and figure out sort of everyone's tendencies. And by the time they come back for the start of the season, they're going to be besties. Yeah,
it's going to be a very interesting look at this 2026 roster. I mean, let's just get it out there. There's 15 pitchers slated on this roster. A majority of them seem to be left-handed. It's actually pretty balanced, all things considered, except for the bullpen. The bullpen is definitely more left-handed heavy. We'll get into that in a moment. We'll talk about the starting rotation. I mean, we'll really get into almost everything we can here for this episode. But when you look at this pitching staff, 15 pitchers, 11 position players, this is what Logan and I talked about earlier, but you're going to see a pretty recycled lineup card. It's going to look similar, but not always the same. You're going to see Keyshawn Lynch playing all over the place. Robbie Enriquez will be bouncing around. Max Murphy will get days off as a DH. Gianndito Trump will get off days as a DH as well. But you kind of look at this lineup card, and you're looking at, you have one guy who's circled as an everyday player in the same position. That's going to be Noah Marcello out in center field. We'll get into him in just a little bit. But what does 15 pitchers on this roster look like compared to maybe in years past where it was either Logan or Rick Forney who would maybe test the waters and go with maybe 13 or 12 pitchers compared to maybe more position players?
Well, I mean, we're really dipping back into the days of Rick Forney, where he, as a pitcher himself, was always very, conscious of the amount of pitchers he had on the team. But for the last several years, it's been a lot of, rotating position players, that extra bench body with the grind of the summer. But knowing now that there's so many, relievers, there's, you've got a pretty set rotation, guys that can come in and out depending on if you need a spot start. You're really getting to a point where you can see that this team is all about guys who can play wherever. Mm-hmm. It's the flexibility for Logan in making his lineup card every day that's going to, really put them above, what other teams can do. Where you've got, more than a handful of guys who can play at least 2 positions, maybe 3. Even in the short amount of time that we saw Adam Hall here in 2024, he split time between second base and center field. So even if you need to maybe swap out Noah Marcello for a game, maybe Adam Hall is a guy who can move over. That's the thing. Keyshawn Lynch has played a couple games in center. He's played in left. He's played all throughout the infield. At this point, I'm waiting for him to catch.
He had the gear on last year at some point, so it's going to possibly, hopefully not this year, happen. But.
Yeah, no, because that would obviously mean a series of events before then that we would rather not discuss. But no, it's all about flexibility this year, and I think what Logan has done with the construction of the team is you've got flexibility, you've got pitching, and the ability to overcome injuries if they come your way.
I'd say right now, as we're sitting here on the 28th of April and we're getting closer to opening day, I think if you look at the rest of the roster around not just the league itself, but in the division, I think this is the most depthful roster that there is, at least in terms of how many pitchers can be used in any situation, and then the position players as well, as we've hammered in a couple of times. So yeah, great way to start off with the Adam Hall effect and the Noah Marcello effect. I think that's where we should kick things off right away, is what the middle of the diamond will look like. We know the catching position is 2 guys with Kevin Garcia and Rafael Pelche. But that also means that there was a third catcher. Mason Doby has been released. He had a job offer that he couldn't refuse, so we wish him the best in his life outside of baseball. But when you look up the middle and the rest of the way, you can use Adam Hall as a center fielder. You can use him as a second baseman or a shortstop. We've seen him play all over the place. Same with Keyshawn Lynch, who could play any of those positions and has played it well. Roman Borowsko will be slated as a shortstop plenty of times. He says, or at least this is what I'm hearing from Logan, is that Ramon dropped some weight so he can be a little bit more versatile up the middle. But he is still one of the best defensive third basemen in this league. And as we've mentioned plenty of times, that's so important, especially as you get into the middle of the summer and those big right-handers start to feel hot and they start pulling the ball more consistently. But the middle of the diamond is pretty much interchangeable still. You can have Ray Patrick Ditter play up the middle. He's played center field before. I mean, there really is so many different options that you could use in this puzzle piece.
And I think that that's the key as well, is not only are these guys, flexible, they are also really good defenders. Mm-hmm. So the pitching staff, as we've emphasized already, is going to have that extra layer of security behind them where, I trust that these guys are going to make the plays that, if maybe it's a hard play, that's going to look a little bit easier for them because they're all really mobile, as you said about Ramon dropping some weight to get a little bit more mobile. But the fact that he's got amazing range already at third base. We've seen him make some incredible plays. Hopefully we're going to have a nice full season of Ray Patrick Ditter where, he had a lot of disruptions to his year last year where in and out of the lineup with injuries and for both the bat and just, playing his positions, he wasn't able to get into his rhythm as much. So having a full season of that, it's going to only benefit them, and then to have guys who can step in, maybe it's a late game, pinch hitting situation, and then you need to put someone out there for the ninth. You've got more than a couple guys who can move around if need be. So it's even in those situations too. You need to get a bench bat in. You need to move someone out, to the outfield, move someone into the middle infield. You can do that. So it's one of those, situations in which you are fairly well set, regardless of what you do with your lineup.
Yeah, I think the only hole in the lineup card would possibly be Pelche's bat. He is a rookie catcher coming in. He's making the jump from the SEC, which he did play well in the Big 12 when he was at Kansas State. But then making that jump already to the SEC, you're seeing guys who will pretty much be drafted and then immediately either sent to high A or even double A. You're expecting him to just start getting more comfortable with the twig. And that was something that he himself, Pelche, has said that was his biggest improvement in college, was his bat. We know that he is a good catcher, not just with framing, but also throwing runners out. So Logan and I, we just talked about that earlier as well. But if you look at the way the lineup card can be constructed, there's not really holes in that lineup card. You're not looking at it where you're saying, okay, we know he's in because of his glove. And his bat is just, if we can get him to hit above the Mendoza line, we'll be happy. I think up and down this lineup card, we're seeing guys who should have impactful years. And then with the expected pitching staff that we're supposed to be bringing in, I think Logan's going to be very happy to see what this lineup card will look like. It doesn't seem like it has a lot of power, and by power we mean balls over the fence, but that also means slugging is doubles. And there's a lot of guys who can not just have a big double seasons, but who could turn singles into doubles. I think there is a hidden element of some speed that we're not really talking about, but it is there in this lineup card.
Yeah, and that was something that last year there was some speed, but you look at the roster this season. I mean, you start right as what we mentioned already, Noah Marcello, who in the Pioneer League was a stolen base machine, and he's someone who could steal 30, 40, maybe even 50 bags for you in a season. He's a guy that if you drop a ball in between the fielders, he could easily get that into a double. Force the fielders to make a throw. But then, guys like, Adam Hall, he's not slow. Like the guys who you are, looking at and saying, oh, I wonder what his speed is like. Most of them are a lot faster than what teams give them credit for. And that's going to be a huge deal for, close plays, stretching that single into a double, maybe, stealing a few extra bases this year that maybe we didn't see last year because there was a lot of rotation in who was in the lineup. But I think it's really a good thing for a roster to have as much versatility in terms of the athleticism. Bringing back a guy like Robbie Enriquez, who has played just about everywhere. And, he's out in the field. He led the team last year in outfield assists. So he can cover a lot of ground and then proceed to, use his athleticism to his advantage. So between the speed and the defense, it's going to be a really interesting, athletic season.
Yeah, a lot of notes to put on these guys. I mean, we talked about the power, we talked about the speed. 6 Canadians are on this year's roster. Not only that, you have 6 guys who have played at the Class AAA level, 15 guys who have been in affiliated baseball. When it comes to our Canada players, we've got representation that resides in Manitoba, but also is from Alberta, British Columbia, Ontario, and Quebec. So the only thing we are missing is a Manitoba-born player, which, anything could happen over the course of the season. But you're looking at a very complete roster that also will go international. Ryo Kawagashi will join us from Japan. Willian Suarez joins us from the Dominican Republic. So this is a Goldeyes team that not only is producing Canadian talent, but they're also highlighting all other ways of international baseball, including the two Rubens, Gianvito Trump, and Ray Patrick Ditter.
Yeah, and I think that's also, it provides a very unique clubhouse dynamic. And this is always, the culture of the Goldeyes has always been based around a good clubhouse environment. And, you've got a lot of, veteran guys, as you said, 15 players who have been, in and around the affiliated ranks. But you also have guys like Rafael Pelche, who is coming right out of college. You've got younger guys, but you've also got the veterans who have done this for such a long time. Players like Max Murphy and Mitchell Lampson, who have been around both affiliated and the independent partner league ranks for so long that maybe these guys who haven't been in this league especially, they go to them, they are able to figure out things that maybe they need to work on, the dynamic of the league. Everything's a little bit different in terms of how things are between the partner leagues. There's a lot of guys, too, who have made the jump from the Pioneer League to the American Association this year. And so it's going to be a really good, there's going to be some growing pains for sure if you've never played in the American Association, but to have such a wealth of experience across all levels, it's going to make it easier for guys to go to their teammate, the guy who they're sitting next to, and then say, hey, I'm struggling with this. What's your advice for that specific team or something like that?
Well, it's really easy to also look at the guys who are returning from last year's ball club to this year's ball club, or guys who have at least been in Winnipeg for the last few seasons. Guys like Keyshawn Lynch, who now really love playing here and have voiced how much they love playing here. Derek Cherry's coming back for his second year. Again, someone who played Baseball Champions League, was a huge advocate on wanting to come back if he never got an opportunity in the affiliate ranks. And then guys like Mitchell Lampson, who pretty much have built a home here. Kevin Garcia, Max Murphy comes back year after year after year because he loves it out here so much. So there is plenty of guys on this roster who have basically made Manitoba their home in the offseason, because why not? This place has produced a lot of great memories in season, so it's time to keep up those memories as well. And someone who we're going to hopefully get a good bounce back here on, Landon Barassa, another guy who is a Manitoba now almost immigrant, if you will, coming from Alberta just a couple of years ago, but was pitching well in Australia, was the pitching champion down there. We're just hoping for not just a healthy season from Landon, because sickness, illnesses like that, that's something that it's not really controllable, but you know that you're going to get a healthy season from him, and when you do get a healthy season from him, he's making those 20 to 22 starts. He's going to be well above average, one of the best pitchers in this league, and he's going to be someone who will head this rotation that, as it stands right now, will start off with Landon Barassa. Mitchell Lampson looks like he's slated for the number 2. And here comes the quote-unquote question marks. And what I mean by question marks is you know what you can expect from him. It's what the execution of it's going to be. James Bradwell is coming back from an injury-ridden season at the end of last year. He's looking good. I talked to him in the clubhouse earlier today. He's getting his work in early on the field. He's feeling good. The ball's coming out of his hand. So far, he has said pain-free. We like to hear that. Not only that, but you're expecting that once he gets the wind back in his sails, he will be a dominant pitcher like he was in the Frontier League pitching with Quebec. Luke Boyd, who we saw last year, there was a lot of great things about Luke Boyd. I think the one thing, though, that hurts him, and I think if you asked him this, he would say the same thing, it's limiting those walks, limiting those damaging innings where you're saying, man, you're cruising through the first 4, but in the 5th inning right now, you're either walking the leadoff guy or just giving up just some maybe harder contact than we would like to see. Just getting back into the swing of things where you can go the full 6 innings of relatively stress-free baseball. And we've seen that from Luke Boyd before. It's just the consistency out of him. And then here's the big one, and this is what Logan talked about yesterday when I talked with him, and this is, I think, what's going to be the biggest part of, I think, a Goldeyes season is, what is Noah Milliken going to look like making the jump from the Pioneer League, where he pitched very well for the Oakland Ballers, was the pitcher of the year there, to now in the American Association, where he has not just established hitters, but hitters who have seen Major League Baseball, or hitters who have proven themselves over the professional ranks. So here they are coming to the American Association, and simply enough, the hitters are just at a different level here than in the Pioneer League.
Yeah, and Noah has said too that he's put on a little bit of weight in the offseason. He's working on throwing a little bit harder, really dialing into that accuracy. But he has put a lot of work into preparing himself for the differences of this league. And having him as someone who could be in the middle of your rotation, he could be a true difference maker this year. And I think something too that is worth noting is last year, between injuries and just unfortunately some seasons that a lot of the guys would tell you did not go their way. Games were a lot closer and a lot higher stakes throughout most of the game, and it really didn't allow any sort of mistake to happen from the starter. Hopefully, with what we're looking at this year, with a lot of the difference-making bats, there could be some more run support that maybe takes a little bit of that extra pressure off the starters. Someone like a Luke Boyd, who, if he's settled in and he's firing, he's going to be able to go 6 innings and limit those walks. But that's the thing is you can't expect everyone to be perfect all the time. But last year in such close games, you had to be, because otherwise it was always those 1-run losses.
Yeah, it's just the microscope that gets put on those types of games. And well, you're in a situation here where, like we said, 15 pitchers are in this squad. 5 of those are in the starting rotation. That means 10 guys are in the bullpen competing for jobs. And we're going to get into this in just a second, but we'll talk about what the James Bradwell effect will be. If he comes in healthy, that's great. That means you're going to get hopefully 5 to 6 innings consistently from him. And then, of course, the occasional 7 innings if things are all going well. But if Bradwell isn't able to just hop off the pony right away, what does that look like coming out of the bullpen? Does that look like that Bradwell will be used as an opener? There's a possibility there. But I think someone who can turn into that role of maybe extended starter, Weston Lombard, he can take a bulk of the weight. But I think someone who this league will be well known very quickly will be R.I. Franson, coming in from the Kingdom of the Netherlands. He is a full-blown Dutch player. And not only that, he has starting experience, but out of the bullpen, he looks very good. The stuff plays, and that's why they chose him, the Kingdom of the Netherlands, I should say, chose him to face up against the monster that was the Dominican Republic in the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah, and he's someone, too, who, going back to what I was saying about familiarizing yourself with the league, he said in preparation of the WBC that he talked to some guys who have played here, Dason Cruz, Ray Patrick Ditter, guys who are very familiar with the city of Winnipeg and the league about what to expect, and he seems so excited to come in here and become that difference maker. But yeah, he is the stuff that plays. We saw him strike out Juan Soto in that game against the Dominican Republic, and he has enough of a handle on both relieving and starting that he could be that swing man. He could be someone who, let's say Bradwell goes 3 innings, you get 3 more innings from R.I. Franson, and he will be the one to hand it over to the late inning guys.
I think that's the key about this too. When you have 10 guys in your bullpen, it gives you so much flexibility. As we started off this whole thing out was with flexibility. That extends to the bullpen as well. There's so many opportunities for guys to get into games, and it's not just in holding roles. It's could you go 2 innings just to bridge the gap a little bit better. It allows you to say, all right, maybe guys like Derek Cherry, who've thrown maybe a little bit, are down. Kawagashi could be down. But it allows so many other opportunities and opens up so many more possibilities in case those guys are down, your high leverage guys. And that's how we'll transition into the back end of the bullpen. There's not exactly a bona fide closer here. We saw Joey Steele fit into that role in 2024. There really wasn't a guy that was the set closer last season. I mean, then again, being in so many 1-run games, you would think that there was a designated closer. But unfortunately, though, when you're on the losing end of most of those 1-run games, you don't really get to see a designated closer. We saw Derek Cherry play a little bit in that role, Ryder Yakel, Tasker Strobel, who is an all-star closer in the American Association. But really, it kind of comes down to who's going to get those high leverage opportunities first and who is going to be the one that slams the door shut in that 9th inning.
No, I think what we're really going to see here is early we're going to see some closer by committee situations to see, who really lives up to that moment. You get the ball with the game on the line. And so you got guys like Willian Suarez. As you said, Tasker Strobel has closed in this league and was the Goldeyes closer in 2022. But you also have the hard thrower Eli Saul, who could be someone who, especially now with the way that baseball is going, the harder you throw, the further down the bullpen you get. Mm-hmm. So you really have a wealth of opportunity for guys to step up and be that guy. And I think that's probably going to be the most exciting storyline to watch, coming out of camp here, where, first couple of games on the road here in the preseason, you're looking at, is this the guy who's going to close games? And who Logan gives those opportunities to is going to be really exciting to watch.
I think Derek Cherry will hopefully bring up that maturity level that we saw at the end of the season. He pitched well in Shenzhen for the Blue Sox in the inaugural, I don't even remember how it's called. I think it's the Chinese Professional League, but spring. I think that's the league it's called. It's something confusing, but he pitched well in that. Then goes to Baseball Champions League and faces another gauntlet of batters who have major league experience, and he pitches well there as well. So I think the maturity level of a young kid who was 24 last year, he's in his 25 season, he'll turn 26 in August. He's going to be coming in with a little bit more of a chip on his shoulder, thinking that there's a possibility that he could slide in that closer role. And we've seen him touch 97, so he's got the velocity. It's just more about the headspace with him. And then some other guys who could possibly turn into that closer role. As you mentioned, Eli Salt could be that guy, William Suarez. Koagashi could also slide in from the left-hand side. I mean, there's just so many opportunities and potential spots that are up for grabs. It's just who's going to be the one to take them. But when you have 10 guys in that bullpen, how do you choose?
I really think it's going to be opportunity based, and if someone shows early on that they are, they rise to the occasion, they'll probably get a little more of that leash there. But it's the fact, though, that if there is a guy who's down, it seems like there's enough opportunity for someone else to step up and be the guy. And I think that is also going to foster a nice little healthy competition amongst these guys. And especially, too, where if you've got guys who want to be the closer, they know that they're probably going to have to hold some days. They're probably going to have to be a mid-inning guy. But they all know that in the end, it's the trust that they can have between both their teammates and their manager to say, if you need me in a big spot, I'm good to go.
Well, not only that, I think there's two names that we haven't even talked about yet. These are guys who are in the Pioneer League who are making the jump to the American Association. It's Quinn Waterhouse and James Collier. Collier pitched very well with Oakland. He was their back-end guy. He was the guy who shut things down for the Ballers on their way to their 2025, their first ever Pioneer League championship. So he's a guy who can slide in. He was picked up by the Nationals prior to spring training. He was released, didn't break camp, but it shows that there is potential there. And there was potential to see the hard-throwing right-hander not even be in this league. There was a thought that we might see him out in anywhere on the affiliated side for the Nationals. Not only that, Waterhouse coming in as a hard-throwing left-hander. Again, it lights up something in you when you can see a left-hander pumping 95 plus. It gives you kind of more of that, all right, maybe we want to go with another left-handed option at this point of the game, because not only is it possibly closer base scenarios, but it's also wherever that lineup card fits in. If you're in Sioux Falls and you see Jabari Henry, Josh Raywald, Mike Hart, well, that usually means that you're probably going to end up facing those two left-handers with Jabari sandwiched in between. And that's something you would say, you know what, I'd rather face Jabari left on right and make sure that you can take care of Raywald, take care of Hart, kind of neutralize those two guys, and you'll just eat whatever happens with Jabari from the left-hand side. But regardless, you still have so many opportunities to use those guys like Waterhouse and Collier, and we didn't even talk about them because of how depthful this bullpen is.
Yeah, and I think Quinn Waterhouse, too, is one of those dark horse guys who I think could really become someone who we see a lot of this summer. And to have that good mix of the righties and the lefties, where if you really need to, you can go righty-lefty. And that's something that we haven't really seen recently, because it was, a lot of situations where you stuck with the guy, depending on whether it didn't really matter what hand he threw with. This year, you've got impact arms on both sides.
Mm-hmm. I mean, not only that, last year there wasn't a whole lot of lefties. It was Tasker who took most of the load. Weston Lombard came in and he would come in and pitch from the left side. But it really kind of showed what a non-depthful bullpen versus a very experienced bullpen will look like. And I think you don't exactly have a bunch of raw guys coming in. It is some experience from either the affiliated ranks or they're looking for bounce-back and prove-it seasons. And I think Kevin Voppel is someone who is essentially the prove-it season. He was down because of Tommy John in 2024. So we saw him for a brief stint in 25 with Jupiter for Class A with the Marlins organization. But he's coming into this season looking to prove himself. And, I mean, there's a very high likelihood of him being, at the age of 24 years old where he could pitch well for 3 weeks and we won't even see him for the rest of the season because he gets picked up somewhere. That's also the possibility with having 15 guys. Just in case one or two guys get plucked out of the crowd, you got to replace them. But it's like you're only picking a couple of guys instead of a whole bullpen. But not only that, Logan has pretty much completely rebuilt this entire bullpen. You heard it earlier on the broadcast that this is returning Tasker Strobel and Derek Cherry. That's your bullpen. And I guess Weston Lombard as well, but for a brief stint. But otherwise, it is a whole new bullpen. So there's the excitement that Logan will have, but there's also a bit of a nervousness of, are these the guys who I've been told these are the guys?
Yeah, but I think too, it's both nerve-wracking and exciting to see, such fresh faces in this situation where we witnessed so many times last year, close games, and then unfortunately, just as it happened, those late innings, they would surrender the lead. This was Logan's attempt at making sure that doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. And I think it's exciting to see who, he's been able to see as, options for those late innings, for these close games. And to have them come in and be essentially a brand new pen down there, we're going to see a lot of new styles and a lot of new faces, but also the fact that who he relies on with Derek Cherry and Tasker Strobel being the only two returning bullpen arms. It's a different look, but it's one of those things where Logan sees these guys as the options.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of exciting players to watch out for. Again, come meet the guys at Trans-Canada Brewing on May the 3rd, 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. Fans of all ages, bring your pens, bring your souvenirs, bring everything to get signed. The guys will be down excited to see all the fans who will be supporting them out on the field at Blue Cross Park this season. And speaking of which, let's just wrap up the entire Inside Pitch here with the promotions and just some fun. Obviously, we talked about it earlier at the very top of the broadcast we have the home opener. 5,000 tickets are already sold. If you haven't bought your tickets, what are you waiting for? Buy them right now and get to the ballpark early. We've already got 5,000 seats sold. It's going to be a jam-packed Blue Cross Park. And do you think because of everything that's happened, the Jets not being in the postseason, I guess the Moose are in the postseason, but Winnipeg sports is right now, they're kind of thirsty for something. The Bombers aren't going to be kicking off for a little bit. And it's been a long offseason. Baseball ended a month earlier than we all wanted it to. So with the Blue Jays' success on that side, do you think there is a thirst for baseball that we just haven't been able to quench yet, and that's why there's an excitement here?
No, I think that there is a level of, there's always the brand recognition of the Goldeyes. Everyone knows the Goldeyes in Winnipeg. But I think that there is a buzz around the team this year, especially with the promotional schedule that we released this year. But also, it's hard not to acknowledge just how big of an impact on baseball as a whole in Canada that deep run for the Blue Jays did. So it brought a lot of new eyes onto the sport, and we're really hoping that this summer, they make that choice to, come on down to Blue Cross Park, take in a baseball game, feel the environment of the building, because it's going to be buzzing all summer. Well,
5,000 plus fans already for the home opener should tell you the excitement that we're feeling here in the office, and of course what the guys are getting ready for down in the clubhouse. And as I said, spring training opens up soon. So let's get into these promos. We've got the paper right here. Brian will throw it up on the TV as well in just a moment. But compared to maybe the last few years, what does this promotional schedule look like? Because this is a lot more than I got my first year, and it's certainly a lot more than we saw last year.
Biggest difference this year, and this is something that's been so exciting for us to talk about, is there is going to be 9 fireworks nights, which is more than we've ever had. And you're coupling that with a lot of, whether it's new or returning favorites, you're getting a little bit of everything when it comes to the promotions. You have things like obviously our home opener, which we always make such a spectacle of. But we also have new things like our alternate identity night with our Manitoba Mosquitoes identity that we are so excited to unveil. Our rock and wrestling night, which is something that we are trying, that is very new, but we're having a wrestling match at home plate before the game.
Because why not?
Because why not? So it's a combo of a lot of things that we've been so excited to try that we're finally taking the step on, but then knowing exactly what has worked in the past, that things like our Soirée Francophone Ukrainian night, and then another Canada Day game this year. It's just so exciting to look at that promotional schedule and start planning out your summer.
Yeah, why not start here? And let's take a look at some of those promos. It really comes down to the big ones, the 9 fireworks shows. It's the most that the Goldeyes have ever put on. I think that's the most that they've ever put on, especially in this ballpark. And fireworks look amazing over the skyline above that left field fence. But other than that, we've got plenty of promotions, too many to talk about. So let's just keep it to a small handful and let's go through some of our favorites.
For me, I always am partial to things like our classics, Ukrainian night, Soirée Francophone, another Canada Day game this year. But then it's also, some of the new ones, things like we've got Boy Band Night, which is new, or Alternate Identity. Manitoba Mosquitoes are making their debut this summer. It's really a good mix of returning favorites and what should hopefully be new favorites after the summer.
Yeah, not only that, you're bringing back baseball bingo, which has been dormant for the last few seasons. We're bringing back Throwback Night, August 6th, of course. All the fans get to see the old W logos back on the field. All the guys love wearing the old jerseys as well. Kind of makes you have that throwback sense of a new thing that's starting up in Winnipeg, that is the Goldeyes. Father's Day bucket hats. Always great to see the fathers and sons playing catch on the field after that game as well. But not only that, it's also fun to see a bucket hat being given away. So, Andrew, looks like you got yourself a new fishing hat for the season.
Yeah, there's a lot of unique giveaways this year that maybe we didn't have before. Something too that we should really bring up is the fact that we are giving away a wrestling mask on Rock and Wrestling Night. There's going to be a pregame, actually wrestling match at home plate. It's going to be a blast, and speaking of a blast, there's also fireworks that night as well.
Of course, there is
a lot of premier nights with those to cap things off with those fireworks shows. And what's also nice too is if you wanted to get to all 9 fireworks nights, you can do so with a Friday mini pack, and then you can choose the home opener as your 10th game, and you will not miss a fireworks night this summer. So kind of hard to pass up on that.
Not only that, but you also have Bark in the Park coming back, another fan favorite for all the furry friends who get to come to a Goldeyes game and enjoy the atmosphere. And not only that, the pictures of your pooch could possibly be on the jerseys as well. Brian, I know you are big on that, but take us through how fans can get their dog pictures on a Goldeye jersey.
Yeah, so what we've done in the past is we have put out a call a little bit closer to the season, send in your dog photos. So that's something that you should keep your eyes out. Make sure that you subscribe to our e-news, and then look at all of our social media, and we'll be sure to keep everyone updated.
And of course, the always favorite Shirt Off Our Back night on June 11th. Great to see all the fans come on down to the field and get their picture taken with a Goldeye player who just wore that jersey no more than a couple of innings ago. And he gets to hand it off to you. He'll sign it on your back. And again, Andrew Collier brought that in years and years and years ago, and it's always been a fan favorite. Always fun to wait that anticipation to see if your ticket gets called.
Yeah, there's nothing better than seeing your seat come up on the video board there and getting a chance to come down onto the field during the game in front of the dugout and get that jersey presented to you.
Not only that, we also need to talk about the lighting that's now inside of Blue Cross Park, and I think fans are super excited to get to experience this new fun fan experience that we see at all the other major sports. We see it in the NHL, in the arenas. We see it now at Major League Baseball stadiums. But these lights, first of all, they can turn on and snap at a finger, so we don't have to wait for them to build up the energy. They're LED, so boom, immediately they're on. But not only that, they flash, they change colors. There's so many different things that now Ed gets to play with up there. How fun is that going to be for the fans to experience the first Goldeye home run of the season? And those shining lights are starting to flicker as the guys are rounding the bases.
I think what this just does is it really reinforces the fact that it's not always just about the on-field product. It's about the experience around what's happening there, and it just adds to that level of immersion for fans where you're hoping that something's going to happen where the lights start, the light shows, post game, maybe a closer's entrance. But, what's fun about this is we have so many opportunities to utilize this to our advantage, and it's been, in the planning processes for a long time. So to get it installed for the season, it's going to be a great, experience for fans. But I mean, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't also looking forward to it.
I remember texting Andrew and Ed as soon as I heard that we were getting the new lights of how exciting that is. Just the visions of seeing games at the major league level and how we could bring in that effect here to the American Association and specifically to Blue Cross Park. And we're going to close up the Inside Pitch with a thank you for stopping on by and listening to all of our recordings, whether you listen to on the airways or you joined us on the video side of things. And we're here in the Visitors Clubhouse closing up the last Inside Pitch of the season. Not only that, if you want to experience all this and more, go to Goldeyes.com, get those mini packs, get some season tickets, come on out to the ballpark, enjoy a summer of fun here at your friendly summer home. Not only that, Brian, we're just a mere 3 weeks away from opening day. Home openers coming up next after that. We have so much fun we're just waiting to share with the rest of the baseball world. I mean, Manitoba Mosquitoes is already just the buzz that we're getting from that. The pre-sales look fantastic. The stuff is into the Blue Cross Park right now, so Morgan's getting that all sent out. And man, there is an excitement here for baseball. But all of that can be experienced at the ballpark. Get your tickets. Why not stop on by here?
Absolutely. And if you're wanting to plan out your summer, you can also check out the full promotional schedule on our website, goldeyes.com/promo. It's got the full list there. We're constantly updating it if anything gets added. And it makes it nice and easy for you to look at your calendar and start marking off those days that you're going to be at the ballpark.
Come on out to Blue Cross Park. We'll be here and we're ready to welcome you back to your summer home for the season. For Brian Finlayson, I'm Trevor Curl, Logan Watkins earlier. Thanks for listening to the Inside Pitch all season long. And now it's time for Goldeye Baseball as we get ready for a home opener and opening day.